right. Well, welcome everyone to the City of Albany Arts Committee regular meeting. This is Monday, May 10th, 2021. And we're going to set this meeting in motion here with a call to order and our roll call. So if you can just say if you're here or not. Member Black?
Here.
Member Goodman?
Here.
Member Szymanski? You're muted.
Finally, I'm here.
Yay. Member Richards?
Here.
And Member Abrams?
Here.
Fantastic. We are all here.
We are sorry. I'm sorry, Chair. We are missing Member Bregman.
Oh, that's correct. Apologies for missing that. And thank you for the reminder. Our second order of business is approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from last session?
I move to approve the minutes from the last session.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, and then we'll do a roll call vote. Member Black?
Yes.
Member Goodman?
Yes.
Member Szymanski?
Yes.
Member Richards?
Yes.
And Member Abrams?
Yes.
And that's a yes from me as well. All right. The third order on the agenda is for public comment. And this is specifically for persons desiring to address the commission on an item that is not on the agenda. Please note that each speaker is limited to, can we make that for 2 minutes? And do we have anyone who has signed up for public comment? At this point?
We do have one person. I'll go ahead and allow them to talk.
Great.
Hi, thank you. How's everybody doing? I want to talk about some fun artwork. I was just wondering the rules and all these policies that we've created on ourselves to police ourselves. I was just wondering about sidewalk chalk, you know, it's half city, you know, the sidewalks are half city owned, half resident owned, 50-50. What about like Solano Avenue? Is it okay to do some sidewalk chalk art, you know, on Solano? Maybe we can encourage the kids in the school system, you know, everybody gets a square, you know, or something. And then they could just color a whole entire square with the sidewalk chalk, you know, really colorful or something. And the whole community could see it because it's up and down Solano on every single, you know, 3-foot, 4-foot square. And everybody gets to see, okay, well, you know, between Cornell and Talbot, you know, that's first grade. Okay. You know, the next block, you know, that's second grade or something, or I don't know, each class. That'll be fun, see more temporary artwork. Also, if we had a community garden, we might be able to do some artwork in the garden, community garden. So maybe we could push for community gardens in Albany for artwork. And last but not least, I've mentioned it before, but I would just want to remind everybody, I keep noticing the waves at Ocean View, the cement waves over in left field. You know, they're gray. I was wondering if someone wanted to paint them, you know, light blue or shades of blue, a little white or something, make it look really pretty. It's just gray. It's just cement. I was just wondering if we could beautify it, maybe. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Are there any additional public comments? Liam, do we have anyone else lined up for public comment?
No, that's all.
We do not. No, thank you, Eva.
All right, then we are moving forward to announcements from staff and committee. This is item 4 on our agenda. Any announcements?
I don't have any announcements, but the other staff here, I think, does have an announcement.
Yeah, that's me. I have an announcement. Quick announcement. It's bittersweet, but my last day with the city will be May 25th. So this is my last Arts Committee meeting, and I just wanted to thank all of you guys. I'll miss you greatly, and Liam, I know will continue to do great work. There's a few things I'm going to try to tie up in a bow before I go, but I'm here till May 25th. So yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for all your service and your help, and you will absolutely be missed. But also
Sure.
congratulations. Hopefully this is moving on to bigger and better, or smaller and better, or just better.
Better. Yeah, no, different, all of it. New chapter. Thank you so much, Erin. I appreciate it.
Any other announcements from?
Well,
Yes.
I echo that. Eva, you've been a big help to me and to all of us over the years. Certainly be missed, and appreciate all you've done. You have to
Thank you.
fill us in later as to where you end up.
Yes. Oh, I'll be going to the city of Piedmont. So I'll still be in recreation.
What?
And
Kelly Putzer is like stealing everyone from Albany?
not everyone.
I see.
But I will be able to walk to work now. It's about a 15-minute walk. So I
Wow.
won't have to do the
Certainly.
80. What is that? The MacArthur Maze, and yeah. So
Yeah.
there's some things I'm looking
All
forward
right,
to.
well-
But yes, you will all be missed, and I'll be keeping an eye and an ear out for Art in Albany.
Okay, well, best wishes to you.
Thank you so much.
All right. If there are no further announcements or well wishes, then we'll move to agenda item number 5, which is just a report back on the Arts Committee work plan. Last Monday, I presented our work plan to City Council, and after some smiles and a bit of a tussle, we got it approved. So we now have an active work plan. It was voted yes by all members except Councilmember Preston Jordan, who had reservations about us taking on perhaps too much in the work plan and had questions about prioritization of the items in the work plan. So to the best of my ability, I explained that the way that our Arts Committee is organized is that each of us has identified items in the work plan that we individually or collectively prioritize, and that we spearhead those items. So hopefully our committee can prove me right on that end, and that we will continue to work towards the items that we have identified, that we have each identified, and that we'll be working on. The other concerns that came up during the work plan presentation, there were definitely some eyebrows on some of the items that we've included, which I will admit are some of the items that I've included that are the ones that I've kind of said that I'm interested in, like the city ordinance around our what we define as art raised some eyebrows and some questions. But since then, I've also had a really productive conversation with Councilmember Jordan in this regard, and I've also been doing research in this regard. So I think the questions were absolutely reasonable, and I'm still optimistic that that there are some changes that can be made moving forward. And also, it was great to hear some clarifications from where the council stood on other items within our work plan. I think that basically sums up what I want to say, which is just congratulations to everyone in the Arts Committee for doing a really great job in getting that work plan together and making my job easy presenting it and getting it approved. So now we just have to step it up and try and get some things done. I think because it's an agenda item, we can go to questions from the committee, followed by public comment, followed by comments from the committee. Is that the correct order? So if any committee members have questions. Yes, Member Goodman.
Can you provide any further information as to what their reservations or concerns were during the meeting?
Sure. Do you have questions about a specific item on the work plan? That might be easier. That'll save me the trouble of going through kind of each item.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm not prepared to. I'm not prepared to that level of detail. I was just kind of curious whether, like that matter of revising the ordinance to redefine what public art means. That's not the first time that's come up before the council, but perhaps Councilmember Jordan was hearing it for the first time.
The concerns in that particular instance were less from Councilmember Jordan and more from some of the other council members who had heard this before. And I think that was one of their concerns, was that they've been around the bend on that particular issue before and felt like it was perhaps a settled issue already.
Oh, I see. Right.
So that was the concern, and the city attorney was present as well to kind of step in and say that that she had reservations about anything that looked potentially event-based or performance-based presented a problem because of the in lieu of funds section in terms of how the Arts Committee is funded. I do think in looking at other cities, the way that other cities have gotten around this, and the way that other cities are defining public arts, that there is still a question of fully understanding or comprehending different modes of contemporary art and how those interface with our definition. So I don't want to go too much into the weeds on that particular issue, but that right now there is a lot of ambiguity within our current definition, which could potentially lead us to approve something on the committee and send it to council, only to have the council reject it based on their interpretation of the same language. So what I'm hoping to do in clarifying the ordinance is to have some language that is mutually agreed upon and that is also consistent with contemporary definitions of public art. Going back to the reservations of Councilman Jordan, one of the things that he pointed out was that within our public art projects plan, we already have identified 7 or 8 different items just within the PAPP. And then following up on that, we have an additional 6 or 7 items in the work plan. So he was kind of crunching numbers and looking at the amount of time that one might reasonably expect us to get through those items, and express concern that in the next 2 years that we could accomplish what we in fact put on the work plan. But again, in the conversation, hopefully what I was able to communicate, and in the follow-up conversation with him as well, is that some of the items in the work plan are shorter items, perhaps, and some of them are continued items that were on the work plan previously, and that we are not quite yet willing to abandon based on the work that prior committee members have done, or that we might want to pursue in the future. Any other questions about from committee members? Eva or Liam, anything you want to add to it?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair, for going to City Council, and everybody, just as Chair Gash said. Preston Mayor, Vice Mayor Jordan, along with a few other members, are new to the City Council, right? So I think that sometimes, I think we all have to remember that when a new council comes in, their eyes are sometimes seeking a little different things. So, as staff, we went back and we were there, we rewatched the movie. And so I just have a few excuse me, the meeting. So I just have a few notes that I wanted to go over. But then just to piggyback on what Chair Gash just said there, which is that the council did come to a place where they may need to work on their strategic plan requests from the committees. And then there could be a potential to adjust the work plans moving forward on that. Just again, a quick refresher to all the committee members. The council adopts a strategic plan to kind of write down where they want the influence of all the committees to head towards, and they are still working on that right now. So we got our work plan in a little bit before that process. So just keep in mind that as the strategic plan is developed by City Council, we could get new or slightly changed directives. Anyway, to start with the Art in Public Places Ordinance. Yeah, I took a few notes on some things that were mentioned. One of the council members had suggested other forms of revenue or money to do something that is not a public art piece as stated in the master plan. So just to quickly go over those, transient occupancy tax. One council member even said the sugar sweetened beverage. So I wanted to mention those because the city council mentioned, the city attorney mentioned that legally we cannot change the ordinance and no public in lieu funds can be used for performative art. But then the other council members did follow up with other forms of revenue or money that could supplement those. So that is why I wanted to mention the transient occupancy tax and the sugar sweetened beverage. And then another point to bring up is another council member said, I wanted to bring this to your attention that a few arts committees in the past have tried to change the ordinance, and the city attorney has made a decision on those. And that particular council member didn't want the committee to do a ton of work on this again to get the same answer that they were all repeating last night. But again, Chair Gash, if you have conversations with Vice Mayor Jordan, because what Vice Mayor Jordan did bring up is a good point, and I think the weeds that they were getting into that Chair Gash was talking about too is this idea where what is owned, right? Like, is if the actual item is purchased by the arts committee, would that be different than paying for the art to be made? Which I just to tell everybody, the city attorney did mention again, the in lieu of funds must be used for art pieces that fit the master plan, and really laid it out like that. So, and then again, she also said that we cannot legally change the ordinance. So staff just really wanted to repeat that again to the to the arts committee. I know that that the conversations are now shifting to how you can expand the definition of art, and we think that is important, especially if you are tasked with city council in doing that, Chair Gash. But again, the city attorney was very, very clear this time that we can't change the ordinance and that performative art cannot be applied with those in lieu funds. And again, the real short description of that is just, we don't want a developer coming in, building a giant space and then having like a one-off concert and said, yep, we did it, we'll see you later. Again, the idea of it's certainly much more complex than that, but that is kind of where they're coming from. And then just the last thing I wanted to mention is when the motion was made by city council and it was approved, just like Chair Gash said, there was a very interesting or a very important quote in there, and it is approval with notation that the work plan can or may return to be amended if there's a different strategic plan structure. So again, just keep that in mind as an arts committee. I think overall the city council really liked what you were getting into, really liked the projects that you're working on. Lots of kudos for you, but also know that if their strategic plan format is changed, then they could request a slight change or notation to the work plan from the Albany Arts Committee. Anyways, just to mention to everybody, great work again. We were the first work plan reviewed by the city council. So I think that the points that Chair Gash brought up, that Vice Mayor had brought up, were maybe, just that, like I said, the new council into the process, maybe not as much problematic with our work plan, but we will continue to work through that. And it sounds like Chair Gash has already started that conversation. So again, just kudos to the entire arts committee, kudos to the chair and the vice chair for getting all of that done. Good work.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to echo that too. Chair Gatch, you did a wonderful job. You were the very first to go in the hot seat, and you set the bar very high with an amazing PowerPoint. You knocked their socks off. So I think the other committees that come behind us. They might have PowerPoint. I hadn't seen one of those before. So thank you for putting the time and energy. It was great and very comprehensive. So he did a great job for those of you that didn't get to see the meeting last week. So thank you.
Thank you, Eva. It's kind of you. All right. Any other questions before we move to public comment on the work plan? Okay. Do we have any public comment for agenda item 5?
We do have one, so I'll go ahead and allow them to talk.
Thank you. Yeah, I really like the work plan. I think it's great, you know. And also, yeah, I wasn't sure that, you know, Preston Jordan was going to dissect everything. I think you did a great job up there presenting your work plan on the hot seat. You know, you're the first to go out of all the commissioners, and you know, so you did a great job, and I hope everything works out. I hope they approve it. And last but not least, my hand was raised for so long. I just wanted to comment on the announcement on the last one. I didn't get a chance, but I just want to say, you know, Eva, you're going to be missed so much. I'm just gonna really miss Solano Stroll, dinner with Albany. I mean, what are we gonna do? I mean, you really, dinner with Albany, Solano Stroll. I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do without you. I don't know how we're gonna be able to put dinner with Albany together or something. I mean, are you still gonna come to Solano Stroll and dinner with Albany? I hope. I mean, I don't know who you trained to do dinner with Albany or anything, but you got some big shoes to fill. So I hope everything works out and you're going to be well missed, and, you know, a lot of good times. You're a very fun person in the community. And yeah, so I just wanted to speak on that as a member of the community. So I hope you still stick around and we see your friendly face on Solano Stroll and dinner with Albany and stuff. All right. Well, good luck with everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Do we have any additional public comment?
That is all.
All right. And do we have any final comments from any committee members? Okay. Then we are moving to agenda item 6, which is discussion and possible action on matters related to the gift to the city mural project, the Hidden Treasures of Albany Hill. This is a project that was first proposed to the committee, or I don't know, in my experience, most recently proposed to the committee approximately 2 months ago. Hopefully committee members have had a chance to view the proposal. And then do we have, I noticed, welcome Carol. I see you've joined us. If staff can tell me, do we have a presentation?
We have a staff report that I'll kind of go over portions of, as well as we have a few submittal attachments and images that were in your packet. I'm more than happy to share the screen and bring those up. I did notice that we have a good amount of participants this evening that we don't normally have, so there could be some healthy public comment. And then, yeah, and then we can ask the questions, bring in public comment, then come back for discussion.
Great.
Okay, yeah, and with that, I can start. So thank you, Chair Gash. Before you this evening, we have a staff report for the Gift to the City Mural Project, the Hidden Treasures of Albany Hill. The committee will review the proposed mural project submitted. So the staff recommendation is that the Arts Committee shall conduct its final review of the Hidden Treasures of Albany Hill mural project according to the public art review process outlined in the Public Arts Master Plan, and identify next steps which could include, but are not limited to, recommending the project to City Council and or determining if there is additional information needed to issue a fair and informed recommendation. If additional information or community outreach is requested by the Arts Committee, the project will be put back on a future agenda when the requested information is available. So quickly, just, I'm not going to read the whole staff report to everybody, but a quick background. In October 21st of 2019, the City Council adopted Resolution 201987 and established the donation acceptance policy. So that donation acceptance policy needs to include a written plan that includes the project purpose, description, location, scope of work, budget, financial commitment, maintenance plan, primary contact person, contact information, schedule, preliminary drawings, which must be submitted for each gift to the city manager. The application has been received. The city manager then directs the gift proposal to the appropriate department or advisory body. So this is a gift to the city for a mural on the side of Albany Hill. So that is why it's coming to the Arts Committee. Just keep in mind that the city of Albany does reserve the right to decline any donation if, upon review, acceptance of the donation offer is determined in the sole discretion of the city not to be in the best interest of the city. So tonight we have Carol Fitzgerald is here with us, and the Gift of the City application was submitted by Carol and the Friends of the Albany Hill for a mural project. The retaining wall where this mural will go is on the wall of Jackson Street between Castro and Hillside Avenue. And this is the location for the Hidden Treasures of Albany Hill mural. Per the donation acceptance policy, the city manager reviewed the application and has passed it on to the Arts Committee, as I had mentioned earlier. So just keep in mind that the proposed mural project location is on city property, and that's why it triggers the review process outlined in the Public Arts Master Plan. Again, a few points on that. Per the Public Arts Master Plan, the review process for projects with an anticipated cost of less than $10,000 that are not cited on one of the 12 priority sites identified in the Public Art Master Plan survey of sites may be carried without the assistance of a selection panel. The Arts Committee can request a selection panel if the project is less than $10,000 on their own volition. So just keep in mind that when reviewing the proposal, the committee should consider, but not limited to, the following criteria: location, design, cost, community outreach, community engagement. And then lastly, again, Carol will go over her notification process, but I want to mention that along with Carol's notification process, the City of Albany gathered public comment by posting flyers at the proposed mural location, including artwork imagery, artist statement, and information of how to submit that public comment. We notified neighbors within a 300-foot radius around the proposed mural location, including the opportunity for public comment at the May 10th Arts Committee meeting, which is this evening. And the gift to the city was included in the 2011-2021 Arts Committee agenda. And again, that is when Carol first came to the committee. She outlined her process and shared some of her gift to the city application. The Arts Committee then discussed and opened up the public comment period, which we opened on, March 12th. And then it was closed again on April 16th. So it was right after, February 12th, it opened, and then April 16th, it closed. So it closed right after our April meeting, which is why Carol is now here at our May meeting, because this is the next meeting after the public comment period has closed. If the committee or commission have any other questions for staff, please feel free to let us know. But from here, I think that we can open up the floor to the Arts Committee if they have any questions for Carol. Carol, if you'd like to say anything as well. And then after that, Chair, we can go to public comment unless staff, Eva, our other staff, has anything she would like to add.
Great, thank you, Liam. Carol, it looks like you're talking, but you are muted.
Of course, yes. I don't have anything else to say. I think I've said what I want to say, and I'm here for questions and finalizing the project.
Great. Then we will go to questions from committee members. Are there any questions from committee members?
Yes, Carol.
Hi.
You have, it's not, what I understand is it's not an open, there's going to be a certain number of people, the people that have paid to work on your mural, and that's 130 people that are going to work on it. Is that correct?
I haven't begun to gather the names. The workshops will do that.
Oh, well, I just saw on your application that 130 people paid $10 to work on the mural. So,
Well, there's 130 for, I believe it is, images that will be painted. And so that's the number of people that can participate.
is there a,
They haven't been assigned a workshop yet.
okay. And so that's the reason for what seems to be a very long period of time that this mural will take?
Well, it's about process, not completion. We're working around weather, which hopefully we have a rainy season coming up. And the other thing is the fog in July and August makes a difference. So the two I've put down, in most cases, 2 workshops per month. And the work does not all happen at a workshop. I will have the individuals who are assigned each workshop. We will do color mixing before we're at the site, choosing which of the images they want to illustrate or paint. So there's a lot of planning that is going to be behind the scene that makes a workshop very smooth. And also, I'm limiting the participation to 6 to 8 people at a time.
Oh, you mean when you're actually painting the wall, it'll be 6 to 8 people?
Yes, that'll be in a workshop, and that's for a number of reasons. I don't know what it is that, if there's anything else that I can say that clarifies why it's going to take as long as it is.
No, I was just wondering, I mean, there are some concerns about the disruption of the street and how many people will be there. And I want to make it clear to anyone who's listening, your process and what they can expect on the street.
Yes. And so it's not like you're going to have an army of painters come at each workshop. That would be a disruption in that particular neighborhood. So the way I have it organized, I don't expect it to be a disruption to anyone living in the vicinity. That's my judgment. They may feel differently, but that's how I see it.
So what they're really concerned about is the narrowness of the sidewalk, the parking in front of the mural and stuff. So this wouldn't be continuous. It's just workshops every so often with only under 10 people.
Yes,
Okay.
on site.
On site, yes.
Now the exception to that would be the preparation. And there are 2 groups that would like to do the priming, the base coat, and then the graffiti covering. And so I have to arrange with those 2 organizations how many and figure out how to do that. So that might be an occasion where there's more, but it's also a one-time, like it might just be a Saturday. Other things to think about as far as someone who's worried about the disruption is that we would probably start around 11 in the morning and run till 4. And the reason for that is that the reflection of the sunlight on the background would make it a little uncomfortable to paint. So if we start later in the day, first of all, if it's a foggy day, it will be, the fog would be cleared, or there's a good possibility it would. And also it will be moving south to southwest, the direct sunlight. and for people who like to sleep in on Saturday. So that's that might be a little different when we're doing the priming.
Okay.
Are there any additional questions from committee members? I have a question regarding also the fee. Is that now a suggested donation, or will that be a fee?
No, we decided in January that would be, the term would be donation.
Okay, and is that how it'll function? So for example, if someone wants to participate but doesn't pay the fee, they'll still be allowed to participate?
Does the Arts Committee want to subsidize? You know, the money has to, I'm not sure. I
think maybe what we're saying is, say someone wants to go to one of your workshops and participate, could they make a donation and join the group?
Well, that's so. Let me tell you how the Solano Banner Association project worked. Is that we had workshops at the library, downstairs at the library. We had at the Children's Center, and we had one at Live Oak Park because that was part. And so for that occasion, Solano Association did a lot of the outreach. And also different businesses up and down Solano had the little cards with how to contact me. And so it was not difficult to fill the workshops because we had 150 banners to do. We had 10 people in each one. So I guess I did 15 workshops. So in this situation, we have a newsletter. Friends of Albany has a newsletter with 160 persons that read it. And so we will begin to publish in that, giving a workshop schedule and my contact information. If the city also wants to put it in the brochure that you mail out with how to contact and participate, you could use my email or and then there's certain groups I'm going to outreach to the Native Plant Society because there would be botanical artists involved there, which I want to attract. Certainly the the community colleges, the university also, any organization that has botanical artists possibly around, because that is what the images and the style is in botanical art. So does that?
Sorry, I don't know if that's quite answering the question. What I want to make sure of is that that anything that gets approved by this committee does not present any sort of barrier to equity and inclusion in the city of Albany. That there's not going to be a project where it's strictly a pay to play, where the same people who have access are perhaps able to sign up for each and every workshop, and where community members who may want to participate but may not have or may not be willing to pay the funds are somehow excluded from participating. So if you can walk us through, I know we're not approving your budget because other than that particular part of your budget, it looks like you have secured funding for this project from other sources. So we are not in a position as the Arts Committee, and this is good for others who are in attendance to recognize as well, that we are not in a position to approve or disapprove your budget. However, the part in which you are asking to open it up to public participation for a fee is still in question.
So, two precedents. The bricks that are on the sidewalk and the entrance to the library, that was a project that the Friends of the Library sponsored, and people who wanted to have a brick did buy it for $100 each one. So that was how that was paid for. And the Solano Association also collected the donations for the workshops that I did on the Solano banners. I am going to limit this to adults. However, I'm going to have the limit of 16 years old, because there are definitely high school students who can do this, but it's not a children's project. It's really for adults. And I also put, when we were distributing the forms to flyers, basically to publicize the banner workshops, we also put them in the village. We had a lot of cooperation with the village administration and recreation. So if there's any place like that committee members want to suggest for to put outreach or plan or banners, you can give me that feedback. Does that help?
It helps, but it doesn't entirely answer the question. Still, there's still. I mean, to put it as plainly as I can possibly make it, if you had 8 high school students above the age of 16 who wanted to attend a workshop but didn't have the funds available, would you still hold the workshop for them, and would they be able to attend?
Well, no. Now, what things that can be done to alleviate that is they could have a sponsor. I have 3 different businesses right now who would be happy to sponsor someone. Yeah, but it's not a free-for-all. It's not, in other words, I need to talk to the person, see what kind of painting experience they've had. So this is not something that's just going to be, I don't know how. I know what I don't know for sure what you're getting at, but we're not going to exclude somebody based on their race or their gender, or that kind of inclusion is not going to be. So if you have other suggestions, I'm open to them, but the way that I will outreach is basically through the Friends of Albany Hill newsletter, and any groups that, if the city wants to have them get in touch with me, then that can be done.
Member Goodman, you have a question?
Yes. Well, I understand what you're getting at. I mean, if someone basically, if someone can't afford it, should they not still be afforded the opportunity to participate because they are otherwise qualified in every other respect? So you have 130 people as part of your budget. What if you don't get 130 people? Then you have a shortfall. And if you have a shortfall, is it perhaps not the same as having a shortfall if not all 130 people can afford it? That's one way of thinking about it. The other is it possible for you to perhaps go to the Albany Community Foundation and say, would they be willing to make a provision that if someone demonstrates that they don't have the financial ability to pay but are otherwise qualified, would the Albany Community Foundation be willing to put up that $10 for that person?
Well, they have already committed one donation for this year, and they possibly will do another one for the second year. I it depended. When I did the 15 workshops, there were times when nobody signed out, and then I really had to do my homework, getting on the phone and calling or going to the village and saying that I have 5 openings. The workshop is, Saturday, and it's at your site because I did some there. Could you do a little more outreach for me? So it's a cooperative in a sense that I have done this kind of thing many, many times. And sometimes I have 2 years to gather 134 people. So I'm really not concerned that we won't have enough people to do the project. I don't. I'm not. I mean, I can't sign my name in blood to say much more.
Let's go to. Looks like Member Abrams has a question.
Yeah. I'm not really satisfied with that answer as far as whether or not, if somebody didn't have funds, then you would then tell them to find funding for themselves. But more so, I'm concerned with calling these workshops, but you want them to be qualified artists, it sounds like, and I'm a little bit confused about that. So if you want people who have experience painting and then you want to charge them to paint the wall, but they already have the experience, how is this a workshop? Are you going to be teaching them anything? So that's one of my concerns. Maybe you can answer that first.
Yes, well, for one thing, I have done the drawings of the images. So that is what each person is going to paint, that particular botanic. It's not like they're not going to come in and paint their own. They're already drawn, and that's what I'm asking you to do. The other, let's see, what was I'm trying to think exactly what else you asked that I felt.
But how is it a workshop? That's what I don't understand. If they're paying for a workshop, what is the workshop teaching them? Are you teaching them about how to paint a mural? Are you teaching them
no
anything?
No. The thing of asking for someone to, I mean, I have never entered a painting competition and not had an entry fee. And so I don't.
Competition, is it?
Well, it's not a in a way you could, it's a correlation that somebody who's coming to paint this knows that there's materials involved. And
I guess my concern is this, that from my perspective, if there are going to be artists painting the wall, and I like it better when artists get paid to paint the wall. If these are experienced artists, that artists should be paid for their work and not be asked to pay to play, as Chairman Getch put it. So that's my concern. And part of that is the fact that, yes, if we have college students, high school students who are just members of the community who don't have the money for this, we're essentially excluding them because they don't have the funding. And so that is a concern that I still haven't really heard an answer to.
Do we have additional questions from committee members? Looks like Member Szymanski.
Well, I would just like to, everyone read the public comments, I suppose. And I think it's only fair that we bring up some of the comments that we read. And I think everyone loves the idea of what you're doing. I think there are some people, though, that feel that the composition or the colors aren't exactly suitable to the space that you're doing it in. And the idea that, let me see how I could put this, that going back to the paying part, that it just seems like we can't have any group that can raise money and then just do their painting on a city wall. There has to be, some kind of community involvement and response to the community. So how would you feel about maybe, tweaking your composition or changing it a little bit to make them feel a bit better about what you're doing?
Well, I read the comments too, and I only recall one who was very vehement that doesn't want it. I don't know that I need to repeat it. You read it too. In one sense, walking out her door, she didn't want to be faced with it every day. But another comment was that the images were too small to see. Well, if they're too small to see, then it wouldn't make a whole lot of difference. But all of the other, I don't recall any other comments that questioned the design and the what was your other concern about the images besides?
Well, actually, there were several. There was one that said she struggled with the composition, another one who said that if we went ahead with it, maybe it wouldn't turn out the way we thought it should look. There were several people that were concerned about the actual placement on the wall, that were part of the the people in that neighborhood. So I'm just wondering if you are willing to take another look at it and see if there is maybe a better composition that you can present, or just because your neighbor, you want your neighbors all to like it, you want your neighbors to be proud of it. So this would be something you could do to make it collaborative.
I started this 5 years ago, and I met with the neighbors, and at that time I was going to do the background in sort of actually the mural on the side of Abrams gallery. I was going to use that color because it's green, but it's not anyway. And so the neighbors, that was the only thing that they felt they would prefer to have this the ecru. And I said, well, that's fine, because what goes on the hill, it's either very green or it's dry, and so we'll choose the ecru background because or the ochre, because that can represent the dry period. And so the one person who made the comments that she didn't like it, and she lived right across the street, was actually on vacation during that meeting. And so when she came back, she asked to come to the studio and see the drawings, which I don't let too many people do, but I did invite her. And she seemed to like them. I never got any feedback in these 5 years that the designs were not something that she could live with. Now, people have a right to change their minds, etc. But the Friends of Albany Hill have been doing native plant restoration on the hill since 1990, when I began to be involved with them. And so we feel strongly that we would like to have the native plants and the native trees, the native ferns, the native grasses, like a field guide on that wall. And so there's been a lot of thought and time put into this. And so this is the design that I'm willing to offer. So, any other questions?
Well, I'd just like to comment on what Carol said, and that's I'm very much in support of what she's saying. I'm reluctant. I think this is one of the issues that we run into a lot with public art, where you have an artist with a particular vision and a unique style that comes out when they're allowed to be themselves and express their art in in the way that suits them, versus the community at large with many differing viewpoints and pulling in all sorts of different directions. In the end, I think I'm almost always in favor of the artist being able to pursue whatever vision that she feels is appropriate, as long as we as a committee go through our checklist and decide that it's a professional design, it's appropriate to the site, et cetera, et cetera. And on all those counts, I don't see anything at all that would make us want to demand, say, that Carol change her design at this point.
Yeah, Member Black.
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns about this design. After we met the last time and discussed that, I went up to the site to take a look at it. It's been a long time since I'd been up there. And frankly, I think the scale is very wrong. I think it will, I don't see any point in doing it, in that the scale is so small and the wall is so huge that you really will not see it at all, and I don't see the point. And frankly, it looks more, as Carol said, like a guide to what's on the hill, more an instruction than an actual piece of art, and I'm not really happy with it. I think it's inappropriate for that particular site.
Any other comments or questions from committee members before we move to public comment? And committee members will have a chance to comment after public comment as well.
Could I just make a little bit of clarification to Member Black on her comments?
Sure.
The image size will be 18 by 24. And for you to be looking at the drawing that I did, the blueprint, basically, that was an entire block of images squished into a 8.5 by 11 page. So of course, things are very small there. But as far as being on the wall, I feel that the size is adequate. And I'm also, I know there was another question about, or another comment. So that your comment for number one was the scale. And then the other thing was that it did look like a guide, which it is basically. So, and I was walking up there today because I live just a couple blocks away, and in front of the Children's Center, there's two different ceramic panels that artists, I think teachers, actually art teachers, have done with the young people over the years, that are the little square tiles. And so, although they're a distance away, they do have the linear geometric design. So I just have to stay with the design that I've chosen. So that's my comment.
If I could follow up with a question, I love plants and I love participation, but when I hear you describe the project, I have to wonder why not create this in a more participatory form, like a field guide, so that it's not just in a single place. And again, I agree with Member Goodman too. I don't want to throttle anyone's creativity or redesign anyone's project, but it does make me wonder, when we think about community engagement, when we think about site and context and the specificity of site and context, as well as audience, it does raise questions for me about why would this translation of a field guide exist on this particular wall, as opposed to being in another format that is perhaps more engaged or more interactive or more site specific, or garners more participation in some capacity.
Well, all those ideas are possible. I do remind you that for some reason, the Arts Committee, when they were doing the master plan, did not include this wall. For whatever reason, there was a lot of emphasis on doing things that support the economic development. So things that projects that were going along the linear park under BART or up and down Solano were really the emphasis that came out of that. And so to me, it's a neglected wall. It is in the vicinity of Albany Hill, which I've put in a great deal of time and study. So I wanted it, and the friends, we wanted it to be close to where those plants actually grow. Also in that master plan, it was decided that they would keep the hill natural, so there wouldn't be any public art within the park itself. So those are two points that I've considered.
I appreciate that. I just, when we think about precedents in Albany, I think Member Goodman has done this tremendous work around the seasonal haiku project.
I know.
Haikus appear on signs throughout Albany, and people happen upon them in different ways. I'm not suggesting specifically that you do this in that format, but given the budget that you've secured around a project like this, I wouldn't think that seasonal haiku would translate well onto that wall compared to the success that Member Goodman has had with the signs, right? So when we think about site, when we think about audience, when we think about what it is that's being shown and how it's being shown, I think about the successes of that project as an example. And I wonder if there isn't a more creative alternative to this kind of catalog presentation on the side of this particular wall.
Well, it's kind of a kicking off point in a way. I mean, for years, we haven't, for the last 2 years, one was the pandemic this year, and then the year before, the trails were totally disruption. But the Friends of Albany Hill have been very involved in education on the hill. So many, many walks. We've had bird language workshop that was an all-day workshop, learning the calls, what they meant, and then going up and having what's called sits time and reporting back. We will take that up again in December, where we have a day of celebration and we combine plant walks, bird walks, and just a natural history of the site. So certainly the mural would be included in that kind of a celebration. There's also tremendous native plant garden interest that's been going on in Albany and many other places. And so our thinking was that people who want to know what butterflies are on the hill, what plants are their hosts. So the particular host plants within this collection will have the corresponding butterfly or moth that supports that system. So it really is, it's a teaching site, and it's not limited to just what's in this proposal. Once it's there, it can be used by other people and in other ways that I haven't focused on because I've been doing 134 drawings in the last few years, not to mention my own job teaching. And so, yeah, I think there are possibilities to do. I mean, there certainly could be a self-guided tour to where those, find where are those plants located on the hill. There's many things that can build that this could be like a spark to also. That might make what you're suggesting have a wider range of use.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from the committee? All right, we will move to public comment, and if we can afford 2 minutes per commenter.
And really quickly, Chair Gash, sorry, just 1 second public comment. If you are new to the Arts Committee or public meeting, if you would like to make a public comment, just push the little raise your hand button there. Anybody who's in attendance this evening, and we will call on you by name. And
Liam, can you tell us, so we have a sense going in, how many people are in the queue for public comment?
Just one. We just have one public comment at this time. Oh, two. We have 3 public comments at this time.
Okay. Thank you. We can proceed with public comment.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Jeremiah.
I think it's Jeremiah first. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Jeremiah.
That's okay. My 2 minutes starts now. Okay. So, this is a great idea. This is a great thing for the community, right? We get the whole community involved. This is a great public thing. The idea behind it is wonderful. It's just, we got to figure out these small details. It just doesn't sound any fun or benefit the community if you say, well, kids aren't welcome. Who puts an age on, you could have a 2nd grader that's a master artwork person, and there's just a few things. This is a great thing. I mean, we could put it on, if it doesn't work on this place, we could put it on the poles underneath the BART tracks. We could put them on each square on the sidewalk or something on Solano, or we could put it on each one on the sidewalk. Or, we got the new Marin school coming up. They're going to redo the playground. Maybe it could be something on the playground to where the kids could play on it and they could see it every day, and they could see these plants every day and learn something, or actually plant these plants, on Albany Hill. Plant each one of these plants so it could be there. I was just wondering if it's approved by the native people, the Ohlone. I would love to donate, or sponsor some high school kid that would love to do this. How many years is this going to be there? 1 year, 5 year, 10, 25, 100 years? How long is this thing going to be there? And how does the public participate? Is this first come, first serve basis, or, kind of thing? So is it open to senior citizens? And
well, I hope so, because I'm one.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Can we go to the next public comment?
Yeah, hi. My name's Ann Klaskins, and I live over here on the other side of Albany Hill. And I really like the idea of having the mural. And I think it would serve as a good guide to the plants and the fauna and flora that are on the hill. However, the idea of putting a little plaque in front of a plant wouldn't necessarily work due to drought conditions or animals eating the plants. The animals that live on the hill might tend to eat the plant, and so you'd be looking at a bare spot on the ground. I think it'd be better if the people could go out and just find them by themselves. That would be part of the learning. Committee worrying about people who want to participate not make a donation. I think Carol already stated she had 3 sponsors from the business community who would be willing to sponsor people who couldn't afford to make the donation, if I understood Carol correctly. But I do like the idea of the project, and having it on the school ground might be a great idea for the kids, but then the rest of us would miss out on it, and we couldn't be able to learn from it. And there you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
If we can go to the next public comment, please. Go ahead.
Hi, I think it's me. Again, I'm the person that lives across the street whose letter has been mentioned tonight. And I want to thank the whole committee for taking my comments seriously. And I liked all of your questions. They're cogent and they speak to our issues. I still am not in favor of this project. I feel like it's not a gift to me. It's been, I feel like the planning is still very vague. I'm not really convinced it's going to fit within this even temporary timeline of almost a year or more than a year. I don't know how many people are going to work on it. I don't know how many people are going to pay to work on it. I don't know how many people are actually going to walk by to see it, because not a lot of people walk on this street. I think the people painting the mural would be more people than I've seen walking on this street in many years. I'm not going to reiterate everything that I disagree with about this, but I would hope that you keep considering issues that I've brought up. And I feel a little bit like it's a fait accompli, and I would like to hope that maybe it isn't yet a fait accompli. So thanks.
Thank you. Staff, do we have any additional public comment?
No, that's all for now.
Great, thank you. Then we will go to statements from committee members. Any follow-up statements from committee members? Member Abrams?
Yeah, I would just like to, I agree with Member Goodman about, and others about the idea of telling an artist what to make. The artist has an idea or a concept and a design, and that's their design. But this is public art, and we are dealing with the general public, and it's our responsibility to make sure that nothing goes up in the city that is not well vetted with the community and not well accepted by the community at large. I am generally not satisfied with the number of responses that we have as far as the letters or the emails to the city. It's a pretty short list. And so I'm concerned that there wasn't enough successful outreach to the neighborhood and to the city at large about this project. And I also agree that the visibility of it is a concern to me, that it's blocked by parked cars most of the time. And so if you are standing on the sidewalk to look at it, you're not far enough away to see it because it's a narrow sidewalk. If you're across the street, the cars block it. I'm concerned with the timeline also, but I'm also concerned with, because I don't remember seeing anything like this. How are they going to paint the higher portions of it? You're going to have to set up scaffolding. So are they going to have to set up scaffolding every single day? I mean, so how do you safely, by OSHA standards, paint the top of it? So I haven't seen any planning for that too. So I'm concerned about that as well. So I have a lot of concerns about this, but I would love to see more response from the public in general about this, because just in recent history there have been public art projects that have been approved that seem to surprise the immediate neighbors, and that did not fare well with for the committee, and the neighbors were not thrilled that something seemed to be sprung on them, no matter how long it was in process. That's all I have.
Liam, did you give? I know that Member Abrams is new to the committee. In other words, he wasn't present in the January meeting, and you had. Is that right? I don't remember seeing you, but anyway, there were. Did you get? I didn't see in this recent compilation of comments any of the comments that were made for the January meeting. So he might not have seen those. Did you see them?
I watched the entire thing. I did watch the entire January thing. I got the recording, and I
and you got all the comments for that? Okay, yeah.
And just as a point of mentioning, the compiled results that we have were from the public comment period. Arts Committee members, if you would like me to, if we can compile the ones for the January meeting, no problem. I will again just say as a point of reference, a lot of the people who sent in public comments before that meeting got the memo that the public comment period was starting officially on February 12th. But yes, staff, at the request of the Arts Committee, staff can certainly go through those public comments that were before the January meeting. But just keep in mind that they are not, they were not done during the official public comment period that was stated by the Albany Arts Committee in January.
Any other comments from committee members or staff? I have a comment, which is that there are many aspects of this project that I really like. And there are many aspects of this project that leave me with strong reservations. And the idea of doing a community-based participatory mural based on plants and in proximity to Albany Hill, I think is a wonderful idea. And I don't want to suggest that that type of project is not a project that we would want to see in Albany or moving forward into the future. I do, as you probably gleaned from some of my questions, I do still have reservations about equity and inclusion in relation to this project and in the funding structure that you've presented. There are most certainly alternatives to doing that. Right now, this is presented as a gift, and it's not asking for funding from the city per se, but you are asking for city resources, and you are asking for access to public participation. And in both of those cases, we have to acknowledge that considering the duration of the project, there is the potential for disruption on the street in that area, and considering the funding structure, there is potentially that barrier to inclusion that we've talked about. The responses that I've heard tonight in relation to that, I do have to say, unfortunately, have been pretty unsatisfactory, and they leave me feeling like what this project is asking of people is for skilled and competent artists to pay to use their skills for the completion of your work. And that feels a little bit like instrumentalization rather than community engagement. And that gives me room to pause. The budget itself, as a professional artist, as someone engaged in these practices, it is not uncommon at all for artists to include an artist fee to pay themselves. But the way that this project is presented leaves you vulnerable to the accusation that this project is set up to generate revenue through workshops where people have to pay in order to participate. And I'm not suggesting that that's what you're doing, but I am suggesting that if we approve this as a committee, we make ourselves vulnerable to that accusation as well. So those are my reservations around this project as it stands now. And many of these reservations existed in the previous presentation of this project. And I don't know that I've seen significant changes or considerations from the last time that this project was presented. And that, quite frankly, that saddens me, because at first glance, I thought this project would be an easy yes for me. If there are no other comments from committee members, then we'll leave it open for someone to make a motion.
Would you, Chair Gash, would you like me to reread the staff recommendation for this agenda item?
Yes, please.
All right. The Arts Committee shall conduct its final review of the Hidden Treasures of Albany Hill mural project according to the public art review process outlined in the Public Arts Master Plan, and identify next steps, which could include, but are not limited to, recommending the project to City Council and or determining if there is additional information needed to issue a fair and informed recommendation. If additional information or community outreach is requested by the Arts Committee, the project will be put back on a future agenda item. And then also just keep in mind that the City of Albany reserves the right to decline any donation if, upon review, acceptance of the donation offer is determined in the sole discretion, excuse me, of the city not to be in the best interests of the city.
Thank you, Liam. So we are looking for a motion from a committee member to proceed on this agenda item. Member Goodman?
Before we get to that, Chair Gosh, is there some particular point that you think could be addressed, an identifiable point with a possible solution that you think would kind of bring you over to the side of voting yes? I mean, people can disagree about the design, and I don't think that's, I mean, if people don't like the design, that can't be helped. But this matter that you're talking about, where you feel there's like a lack of clarity about what is this $10 contribution? What does that really represent? Is that a fee? Is it a people paying for the cost of materials? Does it represent some sort of exploitation of one artist by another?
Yeah, I think actually all of the above right now, which is what I find so disconcerting about it. You know, to just put it really plainly, I know we're not in the position to approve the budget as it's laid out, but when I look at that budget, what I see is that there is an amount for materials that seems to be well covered in the money that's been raised, and then there's this additional amount for participants to pay to be involved in the project. And
well, just on that point, I mean, there's the project expenses come to $6,150, and the total amount of income expected is $6,300. So the only excess is $150. And are you saying that it's padded in some way, that there's actually additional revenue that would go to the artist beyond the $150 that's left over?
Again, like I do not in any way, shape, or form mean to impugn the artist's integrity here.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, where if $6,150 goes out and only $6,300 comes in, then who's benefiting except all the people who are selling the materials?
Well, right now what we see is, there's $5,000 income if we subtract the participants fee.
Right.
Right. And the total project expenses are $6,150. So there's $1,150, which is nothing in terms of an artist fee, particularly for a project that's spread out over a year and a half. Right. but it's not listed as an artist fee. And so the impression that it can give within our community and outside of our community is that that amount is really there as a actually, I'm not even sure why it's there, but my concern is that the critique is that it's there to make sure that the right people participate, and that would represent some sort of barrier to inclusion. I don't know, in this version, who is included or who gets excluded, or whether those people are selected by the artist, if they're friends of the artist. That I think is relatively inconsequential. But on the face of it, the concern is that it appears to represent either some sort of barrier or some sort of padding. If we go through, I don't want to do this, but like if we go through line by line, $4,000 in paint to cover that particular wall seems high to me. It's not itemized here, but I do know, Nova Color paints run about $80 a gallon, and maybe the artist can correct me if I'm wrong, but at $80 a gallon, are we looking at 50 gallons to cover that section of wall? That seems high, but that's not, as a committee member, that's not up for us to judge, right? We're not being asked to approve the budget here. What we're being asked is to approve essentially the site and the city resources, and whether or not it's representative of the city of Albany, right?
So if for example, the artist was to say, well, if someone can't afford to pay, then that money will be provided by some other sponsor. Would that be one way of satisfying you? The other thing about it, the person who's participating needing to be at a certain level of competence seems quite reasonable to me. I mean, you don't want, kids splashing, just going up there and mucking around. So I guess it seems like it comes down to the idea of this idea of there being a barrier to not everybody feeling welcome to participate. And generally it comes down to, do you have $10 or do you not have $10, assuming in every other regard they're qualified. I mean, she could even lower the age barrier, just saying you have to be qualified. You could be 12 years old, but still be very, very competent. Maybe the age 16 is arbitrary, but there still has to be a skill level, and who's, she's qualified to judge the ability of the person to participate. So it just does come down to this one issue of money, to participate. Would it be satisfying? Would it be enough for you if she is able to find a sponsor to make up any shortfall?
Right. So I think I think we're getting closer here. But the way a project like this would typically be done within the context of public art is that an artist who's doing a mural who is either bringing on assistants, which is how it appears in this case, because they are people that are specifically executing the artist's design, right? They don't bring in really any of their own creativity. They're simply instrumentalized in producing the artist's design. And if they're coming in as assistants, they would typically be compensated. If rather than paid to participate in that fact, if they were being taught something, if this was a sort of curricular-based project in which those workshops were of an educational nature and there was instruction, then we could think about the model for this as being a sort of like internship project, right? Where people are volunteers assisting the artist in developing the design, and in exchange are receiving some sort of guidance or mentorship. But if it's a community-based project, if it's a project that is soliciting community participation at large, then there has to be some degree I mean, really, actually, a large degree of inclusion, in which people are welcome and can participate and aren't being somehow screened out or filtered out. And in that case, I love the potential for a project to go on over a year and a half with multiple workshops. I think that's a great model. I think like the city could use more durational workshop-based projects. But my fear is that these aren't really workshops, and it's not really participatory or community engaged. And therefore, if there's some sense that it's not inclusive and it doesn't convey this integrity, then I have real apprehension with it.
I guess I see in a like 180 degrees away from you.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's like you've got the Friends of the Albany Hill and the Albany Community Foundation, who are both stalwart community participants who have said, like, this is something that's really good for the community to have, and we want to support it. And then other people have the chance of saying, yeah, I want to participate too. I want to chip in too, and I want to take part in this wonderful, this wonderful creation that's going to bring a lot of joy and knowledge to the community. So it's not like they're being tasked, to do something. They're entering into it very, very willingly. And as long as there's not this barrier of $10, it's just like you're eager and you have the qualifications. Welcome. You're going to enjoy this, and you're going to have, something that you're going to be able to look at for years and say, I helped participate in that. That's, to me, that's a good thing. I mean, that's how I see it.
I think that's a fantastic read on it. I don't fault that that read on it. I think what you point to there is something more akin to a collaboration between the artist and Friends of Albany Hill, where the funding structure is entirely removed from participation, and then people who want to get involved in the organization in whatever way, whether that's financially or through participation, they would have that option. So that would be another way to proceed. Sorry, Member Bergman. Yes.
I may have missed this part of the discussion, but I guess since I don't have any experience and I've seen a lot of murals and I don't know how they're actually produced. So I wonder if Carol has experience with this kind of project, or at least knows of projects that have worked this way. And that would be, I think, an argument that this has had success. And so I guess that's a question. Is this something that we can compare past experiences?
The artist has supplied work samples.
Mm-hmm.
In the
yes. Yeah, that's I've seen those, and I guess I just wondered what was the process, and I just haven't seen the all the information. So, but that would, yeah, the samples are really lovely, and I like those. That's.
So I guess your question, in answer to your question about other projects. So I teach at City College in San Francisco, and the first mural that I worked on was designed for the John Adams campus, which is between Masonic and Ashbury on Hayes. And Miranda Bergman, a well-known East Bay muralist, that was her project. And I was teaching art in that same building. And so on the days of our class, we participated in her project. No money involved. We just did it as part of the class and having the wonderful experience. And on weekends, I, as an artist, came and painted. It's what the muralists do in the mission, is that they help each other. So for other artists to help another artist without asking for a fee is not unusual. Now, if I were getting a $50,000 fee to carry out this project from a grant or whatever, it would be a different story. I'm volunteering my time. I have a very good, very well-paid job at City College, so I don't need to have money and income from this. It was considered when you advertised for the community public art project that has not yet been executed, but it has been improved, the one that's supposed to be on San Pablo and Castro. The reason that I didn't go ahead applying for that with this project was that I was over the budget, because I was asking for a fee for that. And the city's ruling was that it couldn't be over $10,000. And so I withdrew from that competition. But because I've had so much investment in the restoration on the hill, and because of the dire situation of the insect world, I've delved more into this particular project, and felt that it was really important to get this information and make it available to in perpetuity, because many people move in and out of Albany. Many of the people that I started out with in the 90s are no longer living, or they're not living in this community. So we have an influx of new people that want to know what's going on at Albany, want to know what's there. And so it's an opportunity to make that information available. And many of the drawings that I've done were taken from the pressed plants that are up at UC Berkeley in the herbarium. And they were gathered and pressed during the time that I was managing an urban forestry grant on the Hill. And Dr. Erder, who is now retired, but was the head of the collections at Jepson Herbarium. So these pressed plants are in the herbarium. And so it's a matter of bringing the museum out onto the street. And so that's the motivation. And because it's so, it's site specific. It's for this particular area that those of us who have been around for a while, and even, you know, the new people that are aware of us, they want to know. And so I hate to see a stumbling block that we can't work out, but I'm also not going to go on and on for another 6 to 2 years working this out, which is, I've seen, you know, a number of projects at the Arts Committee that have been there forever and haven't yet, for a number of, I'm sure, legitimate reasons, haven't really happened. And so this is, if it's going to go ahead, it's going to be the design that has been offered to you. And the budget is, you know, it's pretty much there. It could increase slightly because I did this last fall, and prices may have changed, but I doubt that it's significant. So that's, of course, why it's good to have a little leeway on the income compared to the total. But we have a fundraising every December. The Friends of Albany Hill do. So we expect, more money to come in, but we're not going to reach out and say we have more to be used on this project at this time. So we're going to stay with the 4,000. And I think, does that somewhat help you, Member Bergman? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion from the committee?
Well,
Member Goodman?
can we just go back this point? I'm sorry to harp on it, but Carol, if I'm talking to Carol Fitzgerald, what about this $10 participation fee? Is there a way to either waive that or to make it voluntary, meaning that most people will be willing to pay it, and if they can't, is there some, either you don't need it, or you can find someone who would sponsor it and provide it, if that is indeed a stumbling block to the committee otherwise accepting your proposal?
Well, I think I don't see it as a problem, because I've done these other projects where we had asked for it. If we want to take it out of there, we can take it, but still, on any publicity I do, I'm going to mention a donation, a suggested donation, and that, so does that make a difference?
Well, I guess we'd have to wait for a vote to see, but I'm just wondering if that's
I appreciate
flexible on that, then that might make a difference to some people who've raised concerns about it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments from committee members? So the way this works, as far as I understand it, is in order for us to get things done, there has to be a motion, right? And we have to make motions, and then we can pass motions or not pass motions. And then we can move on to the next agenda item. So okay. Yes, Member Goodman.
All right, I will make a motion that we approve this project with a provision that that it is okay for there to be a participation fee, but that the fee needs to be voluntary, and that a otherwise qualified artist cannot be turned away because they can't pay the $10 fee. Okay. And and of course this motion can be amended as well, but let's use that as a starting point.
Do we have a second? Member Simone?
I'm not seconding. I'd like to, I'm not quite sure if this is the kind of, I think we can make this kind of motion that we could, the motion would be to allow her to go back and amend this portion of her submission, and we can reconsider it next month if she wants to reconsider that part. I don't know. I think you can do that.
So, so we now have a motion and an amendment to the motion. So Member Goodman's motion is to proceed, but the participants' fee would be a suggested donation and would not be mandatory. And Member Szymanski has amended it to grant the artist an additional 30 days or until the next meeting to make changes based on feedback that was received tonight.
And just to interject, it does seem like two different motions. There's either approving
I'm
it.
sorry.
No. I think both are fine, but perhaps I'll just suggest that Member Goodman's motion, if for any reason it does not pass, then perhaps you entertain Member Szymanski's that instead the artist comes back. Go ahead.
What are
Thank you,
Robert's
Judith.
rules here? Doesn't the amended motion have to be voted on before the original motion? Are there any Robert's rules experts here?
I think that my understanding is that that's correct. If there's a motion following the first motion, we vote on the most recent motion first. Is that generally the order of things?
I think that's right, but I'm no expert.
If that's correct, I would like to second the second motion, Member Szymanski's motion, that that the issues we brought up tonight need to be addressed before we can move this forward.
Okay, can I say something before they vote on it?
Sure.
So my suggestion is then that we take, I thought we agreed that we were going to use the term donation. I just didn't update that. We're not going to call it a fee, it's a donation. And a donation indicates that it can be made, but it doesn't have to be made. And so I'm agreeable to making that change. I'm not agreeable to coming back another time. I want you to make a decision this evening on the project with that change. So see if that's my comment.
So would that be, how do we do this? So is that essentially an amendment to Member Szymanski's?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't think Carol can make an amendment, but
no, she can't. But,
yeah, Member Szymanski's motion is on the floor, so but it hasn't been seconded, or has it been? No, it has. It has been seconded. So I think we have to vote on that.
Okay.
And then if that is approved, then that has one consequence. And if it's not approved, then we go back to my original motion, which has not been seconded. So that's, yeah. I believe that's what happens.
So do we go, Eva or Liam, do we go first to vote on the amendment that has a second, or do we ask for a second on the?
Let's do a vote on Member Szymanski's.
Yeah, and just really quickly, if we're following at home, Member Szymanski amended the initial motion to request promotional material update in 30 days or when the next meeting is, to meet the feedback of any donations are voluntary and not necessary.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to go for a roll call vote here. We'll start with Member Szymanski.
Yes.
Member Abrams.
Yes.
Member Black. Sorry, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes.
Member Richards.
Yes.
Member Goodman.
No.
And Member Bergman.
No.
So we have
How do you vote, Chair? How do you vote?
I vote, I'm going to abstain on this. We have, regardless of how I vote, it's 4 to 2 or 4 to 3. So the motion passes. I don't know where that leaves us now, because now we passed a motion asking the artist to come back in 30 days, but the artist has indicated that they're not willing to make changes in 30 days.
Doesn't that just leave it up to the artist?
We can get a second and vote on the initial motion, right, Eva?
Member Black, you have something to say?
I don't think you can vote on the second one now. I think we're done. The first vote.
Feels like they're contradictory.
Yeah, exactly. They're contradictory. We passed the second one. The first one is done.
Well, fair, but I believe that the artist, okay.
Just doesn't work that way.
It sounds, I think either way, it sounds like there are still some outstanding reservations that remain. I know, Carol, at the moment, you feel like you've been through the ringer and you don't want to consider the future of this beyond this meeting, but the resolution has passed, so you have that time and to consider if you want to take advantage of it. I believe that the proposal could be put in front of the committee without you having to be in the hot seat again, right? That it just has to be reflected in the proposal that comes forward.
Well, two things. Number one, it's the end of the semester, so I have 2 weeks to do all of my work at the college to finish the semester. And then it's summer break. And my youngest brother passed away during the pandemic, not of the virus, but during that time. And so we're having a family reunion in June, which, anyway, I know some of you are instructors and we need time off. So what I wanted to do, was in June with the Rotary Club and the Albany Community Foundation, was to do the priming, the base coat, and have it all ready so that when I came back in July, I could actually do the outreach for the 2 workshops that I planned in July. So for my timeline to spend another month on this, it's not going to work for me. So I'm willing to take that mural donation amount off the budget and just fly with the 5,000, knowing that I can get support to cover that. And I will go ahead in my flyers to mention a suggested donation. So if you can approve it tonight based on that criteria, then that's fine. If you can't, I'm going to take it directly to council myself and see if how they feel about it, because it was something that was very much in favor with the past council. So that's where I am.
This is a tricky one here because we did make a motion and pass it, requesting information back at the next meeting, and please, committee, take it from here if you can. But Carol, is there any way that whether it's advertising or an updated budget, there could be something that could address what the committee's requests were for at this meeting, that come back in some sort of document that we can just review, or that the arts committee can review and move forward on? Or are you saying that if anything has to come back to the next arts committee meeting, which forgive me, I don't have it quite ready here, is on June 14th, that you would just decline that motion?
I could send you back the budget, eliminating the number C. That's it. I'm not going to rewrite the timeline. I'm not willing to rewrite that or rework it either. So if you can accept, if the committee, the committee can accept that. But the thing is, if I have to wait till June 14th to know if this is going ahead, then the preparation cannot happen. Because I'm going to be leaving on the 15th of June for the reunion and be gone for until after the 4th. So I think that it's something that I've talked and presented to, although this is the first time we formally presented to the Arts Committee, I've made 2 or 3 over the years appearances with the project. I've put a lot of time into it, and so I'm not willing to do anymore.
And I'll just throw this out there too. It does not have to be the next meeting. It could be a subsequent meeting. I know that pushes your timeline back, but given the count of your prior obligations, it could be a later meeting that you came back to as well.
But then we couldn't, but that would be
it does
July.
Push it back.
It wouldn't have, yeah. And, you know, ideally this was ready to be presented to you last spring, but of course the pandemic changed all of that. So I've been kind of hanging out for a year. So sometimes you just have to let go.
I think right now we're in a difficult situation in that we've already passed a resolution. So if there were you know, conciliatory gestures towards changing things, I think that the time to have made those was before we voted. I don't think we can re-vote tonight to pass it at this point. So I think the best that we can do since the resolution is passed is to reevaluate the materials with whatever changes. And I just want to acknowledge that it is a frustrating process, but I think everyone here is thinking about the best interests of our community. And
and I'm in agreement with you on that, but from a different perspective.
Well,
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are going to move on to our next agenda item, which is item 6.2, the sculpture loan program.
Great. I just wanted to say that I have talked to both Jeff Downing and Kyoko Nelson, and they are ready to go when we are ready to go. Kyoko has moved out of the state, but she has left her piece, which will be a single piece. She sold the second one, and so we can progress with that. It's at a foundry in Berkeley, and they know we're going to ask for it, and she will be there to help us when we're ready to go. I believe Liam had said to me that they have spoken or have told Bart that we are planning on using these 2 sites, and since it's not on their property, we just had to notify them, and I think that has been done. So then our next step is to go ahead with the engineering for the bases. I think that's where we're at the moment.
I can let Eva get into specifics as well, but we do need to formulate a contract between the artist and the city.
Absolutely.
And Liam, do we need do we need a motion to direct staff to create that contract, or?
No, it's still going. Again, some of the slowdowns were just locations of the pieces and getting the actual pads engineered and who would be doing the pads. But we're kind of jumping that with the agreement that we came to last meeting, and the just unfortunately not having Meet You at the Corner anymore. So staff is working on that contract, and we will have an update for you certainly at the next meeting, but no action is necessary by the committee at this time.
Okay.
Are we proceeding with the engineers? The engineer.
Those pieces, and again, this was one of those transitional ones, so Eva may have more insight than I do, but the pads were engineered. So luckily that is done. Now they need to be built, I believe is the term.
So what do we need to do to make this happen?
You have done a lot already. Good job, Arts Committee. It's in staff's hands now to work on the contract and then update you at the June meeting, which we are intently working on and we are diligently working on and intently prepared to come discuss with the Arts Committee meeting.
Once you guys have worked out the contract, I mean, could we get it to the artist before the next meeting, and then we could show up at the next meeting with signed contracts ready to go? Is that possible?
I'll just speak to the calendar of events. So what we're doing is working on a contract, and then it has to go to the city attorney for approval and her recommendations and feedback. And then once we get a approved contract, then it would go to council. So council still has to approve it. So we would formulate the whole, or excuse me, we would create a staff report with all of the background information, what community outreach has been done, the artist information, locations, yada, yada, yada. And after the contract and the project and the sites and pads, everything has been approved, then we would be able to directly reach out to the artists, get those contract signs, and concurrently construct the pads and start that ball moving as well. But there's still a few more hoops, but it's rolling.
Council meets in July?
Yes, council meets twice every month, first and third Mondays, and not in August.
Okay, so we could possibly get it to them by the end of July and get it approved so we could keep moving?
Fingers crossed, double crossed, yes.
Thank you.
I have a question about the pouring of the cement. Does that need to be tied to, why does that need to be tied to the contract? We know that we will be putting some sort of sculptures there. So I don't understand necessarily, if they don't approve this contract or if they don't approve these sculptures, ultimately, this project should be going forward, and having the cement poured as soon as possible would be terrific.
Unfortunately, we're just not allowed, we haven't been approved to move forward with anything within the sculpture loan. So they have to approve the program in its entirety. So not only the artists and the sculptures, but the locations, the Arts Committee has approved all of these things with the understanding that all of this information will go to council for final approval. So unfortunately, we can't jump the gun. We have to get approval from council on those various items.
Sorry, if you can just kind of walk me through it one more time. Are we in a position to send something to council today?
No, we have to get that contract finalized. So anytime, let's say like the loop, the contract was finalized approved by the attorney, the city attorney. And then as a whole, the location, the actual artist came to council, they presented their colors, the design, they had a whole PowerPoint presentation. And then once that was approved, then they could move forward with installation and all of the other pieces.
Okay, so next step is contract to city attorney. And then once there's the contract to the city attorney, then all of those materials goes forward to the council? Correct. Okay. Any other questions from the committee? All right, do we have any public comment?
We have one.
Okay.
Thank you. I was just speaking on behalf of the Ohlone culture and, social justice for the Ohlones and the natives on this land. And any of these sculptures of the sculpture loan program, any of these sculptures to be placed on the Ohlone Greenway, I would hope it has something to be relevant with the Ohlone culture, considering it's on their greenway. I mean, if it's not bad enough, I mean, all the land was taken from them, and the only land they have left is a Ohlone Greenway. And still, I feel like we're trampling on it without giving them the respect they deserve, without putting up their artwork. It's like putting up statues of other countries on someone else's land. It's like putting someone else's flag up. It's just please keep in mind, respect others, how you want to be treated with any of these projects to be approved. I think city council might be more inclined to, go with it and accept something if it has to do with creating social justice and it has to do with the Ohlone culture on the Ohlone Greenway. If any of these sculpture loans were relevant on the Ohlone Greenway. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Is there any other public comment? Any final comments from committee? All right. Thank you, Member Black. Item 6.3 is the public art project in support of Black lives and social justice. Just a very quick update. The subcommittee currently consists of myself and Member Abrams. We met a little over a week ago to look at the draft RFP that we put together, and since then have sent the draft RFP out to be further vetted by professionals in the field. I've received back edits from the manager of community outreach from SF MoMA, as well as a curator that's formerly worked for Berkeley Art Museum and the DeYoung, and have also extended the draft to a number of community organizations, including Black Lives Matters. I have not yet heard back from them, but we hope to have, I think, hopefully within the next meeting, we'll have a draft for review by the committee that we can hopefully send up to City Council. Member Abrams, anything you want to add to that?
Only that I have also sent it out to people involved with the Art of the African Diaspora, the annual show at the Richmond Arts Center, and a few other people, and I haven't heard back from anybody yet as well.
If committee members are in touch with other people or other organizations that you think we should send it to, by all means, let us know. If there are no other questions on that item, we can go to public comment if there's public comment. Liam?
Yes, there is one public comment, and we'll bring him in right now.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is a really big topic. Is this the one we've been talking about for a year now? The $6,000 supplies for paint and trying to figure out where to put this mural. Have we figured out and decided that yet? We're going to do scholarships or something with the money. Did anything ever come up with that? Or so this is finally it? Is this still the same topic we're working on here? And social justice. So is this one project for two things? Are we doing Black Lives Matter mural and a social justice mural as well? Or is it all combined into one? I was hoping for more of a discussion or presentation or something, or update on letting the public know what this is regarding. Exactly. I was just wondering if possibly before the next meeting, this commission, myself or someone from the Social and Economic Justice Commission could have some chats with you guys on what's going on, and I myself on the Social and Economic Justice Commission love to hear more about it. And if things were good enough and people on the Social and Economic Justice Commission liked it and it voted, we could recommend it as well. Like it's a good thing, the city council's hearing from two commissions on this thing. I just want to work together. You know, here's a social justice, Black Lives Matter thing on the arts committee. You know, I just want the Social and Economic Justice Commission to be involved somehow, because considering it might be social and economic justice purview. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jeremiah. I'll just comment quickly and say, yes, currently what we are developing is a call, kind of a very open-ended call for a project that is not explicitly a mural. It's for a socially engaged artwork that is still in keeping with the City of Albany art ordinance. And looking at a project that addresses or that is open to and encouraging of Black Lives Matters, but also other issues of social justice and equity and inclusion. So it's open to artists to submit proposals to the committee to be evaluated in that regard. So it at this time will likely not just be a mural. But we do absolutely have plans on reaching out to Social and Economic Justice Committee to solicit feedback in the process as well. So I appreciate those comments. Do we have other public comment, Liam? Eva? Then any other comments from the committee? And like I said, hopefully next meeting we'll have a document that we can look at together and we can have that broader discussion. All right, item 6.4 is spring into haiku.
Right. So I know it's getting late, so I'll keep this brief. The deadline for submissions was yesterday. Liam sent me the results of that, and I was a little disappointed, to be honest. We only got 30 different people who submitted haiku. So it's not, you know, that's about a quarter of what we got a year and a half ago when we did fall into haiku, and I blame that, I guess, partially on myself for not working harder as a promoter, going out to everybody and trying to entice them into providing poems. But I think, you know, without having postcards, without as many people going around it, the word didn't circulate quite as well. In any case, we have 30. And at first I thought, well, let's just, you know, cancel it and we'll just do it in the fall. But then I thought, well, you know, 30 is not a bad number. We can have up and down Solano pretty easily. I looked through some of the poems. They're, you know, they're good Albany haiku. So why not just proceed? And what it means, I think, is that we'll spend a lot less money, and therefore we might be able to do a fall into haiku and maybe get back into our regular schedule, so to speak. I'll have to see at the, I'll probably know next month about how much of a reserve we might have, we might be able to use again in the fall. So I guess we'll just proceed with what we have and you know, make the best of it. And maybe there'll still be some stragglers coming in. But anyway, so I think we have enough to get started. It'll be a smaller, it'll just be signs. I don't think we have to put anything in the big bellies. There might not be anything in the parks, but we'll see. You know, I'll just take a look at what we have, and maybe we'll duplicate some signs and, you know, put them elsewhere. Yeah, Liam.
Hey, Peter, just the way that the website works, we put end dates on things. So the submission window is currently closed right now, but it's only a couple of clicks for me to reopen it. So if we do, I just heard trickle in. So I just wanted to mention that. And I would like to put a date on it, even if that date is like way down the road. So we can talk offline about that, but something to consider that the way our website works is we're either receiving submissions or we're not. So if we do want some more to trickle in, I just need a date or a heads up to keep it open for.
Yeah, well, the public deadline was May 9th, so I'd have to actually go out and do further outreach to tell people that it might still be open. But that might not be a bad idea because Becca Black was talking about reaching out to some of the schools, and I don't know where she is on that. So I will talk with you tomorrow, and maybe we'll see about that.
And I mean, I think it would be remiss just from a staff perspective as well to know that I think that lower participation has unfortunately been a little bit of a situation across the board, right? Not just in these submissions and everything as well. So I just want to mention we can keep that window open for submissions after the publicly noted date.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So then I'll let everyone. I'll give another report next month then, and probably around this time next month, the signs will start going up on Solano.
Great.
I just wanted to take a second to thank you, Peter, for all of your hard work on this program. It's been a lot of work, and you do it year after year, and it's always such a treat to Albany. And yeah, I look forward to seeing it continue. And,
well, good. Well, it's nice to see the signs out there. I know people like seeing their kids work there.
They do. They do. And it's been fun to, you know, get the feedback of all the people who want their poem afterwards. And yeah, it's just a feel good program. And hopefully, you know, Becca, we have seen in the past a ton of school submissions too. So that would be really fun if she's able to, even if we extended the deadline till Friday or something and gave them a week to do that.
Eva, maybe you can steal it and use it in Piedmont.
I would never. No, I would never. But thank you. Thank you for over the years. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, you're very welcome. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Great. Any questions from the committee? Do we have any public comment? Any final comments from the committee?
I'll make this really fast if you don't mind. I was thinking about the artwork that already exists in Albany in the public buildings and or spaces. And I'm wondering if we have those documented, because we have a lot of construction going on, especially the schools, and there's some artwork in the schools that is just trashed, thrown away, could be in other public buildings as well as we, you know, do these kinds of things. Like I was really upset about what they did with Tyler Hoare's sculpture at the high school. And I know there is a Daniel Galvez mural up there. Now, we probably wouldn't be able to save the mural if they took the building down, but there are ways we can document it and maybe recreate it, you know, as part of history of Albany. And so I'm just wondering if there is such a document, or, I mean, I'd be willing to do it. I just wondered if there was one.
Just real quickly, I think we're still on the haiku item.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought it was the next one.
No, and that might be something to agendize for a subsequent meeting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I brought it up. I thought we were in that part where you bring it up for subsequent meetings.
Well, let's just say we are. How about that?
Thank you. That's generous.
We're in that part. So is this a future agenda item?
Yes. That's if you guys, I didn't know if it already existed, and if it didn't, maybe we could talk about it.
A long time ago, there was even a work plan item that was called a public art registry. Cheryl and Peter might remember that as well. So staff can certainly look into whatever that was, but we will agendize it for a future meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other future agenda items? I know the social justice art project, we would like to be on the next agenda, and hopefully we'll be able to present the RFP to the community. All right, if there are no future agenda items, then I believe we are adjourned. Good job, everyone. Thank you for your hard